Today I want to talk about regrets in relationships. Now there are different type of regrets that people have in relationships. They look back and they see, well, I should have done this, or I should have treated this person this way, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, and I shouldn't have said this, and I shouldn't have said that. We all have regrets. If you're human and you've been involved in relationships, there's at least one situation in your past relationships where you have regrets. I want to talk about a special type of regret. I'm in an age group now where I'm dealing with a lot of people. I have friends and relatives and things that are in my age group. We have a lot of mileage behind us. We have a lot of experience under our belt. And some of us are satisfied in our station in life and some of us aren't. And the ones who aren't, they seem to be okay, but they're not totally okay because a part of their mind is still focused on that person that they did wrong. Now, every time you talk to them, if you can get them to sit down for 5 minutes, they go back in conversation about that one person they claim they love. But let me tell you the sticky part about that. Back when they were first involved with that person, they probably had one of these so-called agreements. See, it wasn't a traditional love situation. And I see a lot of these new situations popping up now where you have people who it was a marriage of convenience, a long-term relationship of convenience. And I'm sure there's probably some new 21st century term for it, but basically you got together not because of love, but because of convenience. It could be a situation where there was a child involved and you wanted it to be two parents in the household. It could have been a monetary situation where one person, just couldn't find work where you were living or whatever the case may be, or because of a criminal record, they couldn't obtain income. And because they were fond of you and you had money coming in on a steady basis, you felt it would be more convenient if they went ahead, you fond of them, you cared about them, and you figure, okay, you know what, we're spending so much time together, let's get married. Or it could be a business situation where you have a business and they have a business and you guys want to build a conglomerate and you decide, okay, get married will probably be the best thing to do. Just different situations where people get married out of convenience or develop long-term relationships out of convenience. There was some love there between you, but really there wasn't enough love to really constitute saying that you want to get married out of love. In other words, you could have not lived with each other. You could have done without each other. That marital love was not there. It wasn't. It was more of a friendship love, a companionship love. Basically use. You got use out of each other. But see, let me tell you something about what happens in a lot of these relationships, because I see a lot of them popping up. Oh, well, I don't care that much about them. I'm just going to go ahead and, but I got to do this because of so-and-so. I got to do this because of so-and-so. And they understand. And, in the beginning, the both of you probably do have an understanding. The both of you probably do have an understanding that, there's not much love involved. And until you complete whatever task you need to complete, consolidate the business or get over whatever sickness, or when the child reaches a certain age, you probably agreed back in the past that you were going to go ahead and go your separate ways. But I'm going to tell you something that happens along the way. One of you actually falls in love with the other person. One of you actually cares about the other person. And that's where things get sticky. I have yet to see anybody be involved in a marriage and then at the end of the time period, if and when they do split up or have one of these so-called gray divorces for the sake of the kids, it's never pretty. It's never pretty. But y'all had an agreement in the beginning, remember? Y'all had an agreement in the beginning. She was shaking her head, yes. You were shaking your head, yes. And you tolerated it all this time. Y'all agreed to it. But somewhere along the line, especially when it came time to end it, there was a problem. You can't let each other go for whatever reason. One or both of you fell in love along the way. But see, the other person is like, okay, contract's over. And they're ready to go. But now you have a problem. So let's say this person does go along their way, y'all separate. You spend your whole life reflecting back on all that time you spent with that person out of convenience. And you think about all the things that you've done, all the people and things that you ran around with that you had no business running around with, things that you brought in the house you had no business bringing in the house. You know that you could have worked a little bit harder and developed that. But your mindset wasn't there. And you woke up one morning and realized that the jig was up and it's time for the both of you to go separate ways. Now there's an issue. All of a sudden, it's a problem signing those divorce papers. All of a sudden, it's a problem getting that person to even make a divorce agreement. You can't get them on the phone. You can't contact them. They won't sign the papers. They won't leave the house. They won't turn over the keys. All of a sudden, there's obstruction and problems. But wait a minute. Y'all didn't have a problem in the beginning trying to make a farce out of the institution of marriage. So since it was such a farce and you wasn't taking it so seriously in the beginning, what's the problem with getting a divorce now? Because you didn't take the institution seriously in the first place. You married her because she had a better salary and a better credit score and could lift you up financially, and okay, you're at the level where you want to be. What you still hanging around for? She's ready to go. She's ready to go, and you don't want her to go. You fell in love, man. Ladies, you didn't take time in your younger life to even try to establish yourself and be independent, and all you wanted is sugar daddy, sugar daddy, sugar daddy. You get somebody that's old enough to be your daddy. And you give him a child or two. But it's already established in the beginning. He told you, he said, look, I'm going to go ahead and do what I want to do, and I'm going to pay these bills, but I need for you to take care of the house and do what I want you to do. Okay, you did that. But you knew in the back of your mind you wasn't in love with that man. You wasn't in love with him. You just wanted to be kept because you were too lazy and too unmotivated to try to take care of yourself as a single woman before you met him. You thought it would be easier to do this. So you're thinking in your mind, get me a sugar daddy, get me a sugar daddy. You're going to be the 1 in 10 who have that mentality to get one. And then when you get one and you know he's older and everything else, all of a sudden, here it is. Years later, the child's getting older, starting to develop a life of their own. You're approaching middle age. And the daddy, if he's around, he's older and he's developing diseases and everything else. And it's like, wait a minute. All of a sudden you realize you got responsibilities in a family. All of a sudden you care. And he's even telling you, he's like, look, I got these illnesses, but they're manageable. I can take care of myself. He's got money set aside where he can spend the rest of his years. He doesn't need you anymore. So he's got the understanding. So he tells you, here it is, the child 16, 17 years old, getting ready to leave for school, which means that they'll be leaving you, the two of you in the house. So your agreement is almost over. And he comes to you and says, look, okay, you've already given me what you wanted to give me, so if you want to go, you can go. Then you don't want to go. Or on the flip side of that, how about the sugar daddy already knew that you were young? And that you had these, desires to do other things with other people, and he lets you get away with it. But then when you decide, when the child that you have in question or the agreement goes through, it expires, and she's ready to go, you don't want to let her go. But y'all had an agreement, remember? One of you fell in love out of making a farce out of marriage, and that's what y'all get. You're playing around with the institution of marriage. So now one of you is just stuck for the rest of your life. You'll never find the level of sacrifice and satisfaction with anybody else once this thing is over with. You'll never find it. And the only thing that you feel is nothing but regret, because you had all that time to really make a go of it with someone that you care about, and you wasted all those years because of some agreement. Because you're either too lazy or too unmotivated to try to take care of yourself monetarily. Or you felt you need to prove something to yourself by getting somebody that's totally out of your league so you can have control. Just simple, silly things where you're going to turn around and use the institution of marriage as an easy way to take care of whatever it is whatever void that you're trying to fill. You use the institution of marriage to make it easier for your life, when in actuality it made it hard. And then during the process, when you thought you had it all under control, you wind up falling in love with the person you made this agreement with. That wasn't part of the original agreement. And when that person is ready to go, all of a sudden there's an issue. They wind up getting what they want in the end. They wind up leaving in the end. But then you spend the rest of your life bouncing from pillar to post. And every time you have a quiet moment, you always think back on the fact that you were with somebody that you could have been with for the rest of your life and could have made a go of it. And all those years were wasted. So what do I tell you to do? Just consider it a lesson. And accept the fact that it's over. You sitting here ruminating over that so-called agreed or arranged marriage that's over with and done, leave it alone. Stop trying to play like you want to be friends forever when deep down you want that person back and you know they're not going to take you back. Be honest with yourself. Accept the fact they're not going to be in your life. Accept the fact that they're not going to do what you want them to do. The jig is up. It's done. It's over with. Consider it a lesson. Don't play around with marriage anymore if you choose to do it again, and just wash the whole thing clean. Because what you're doing is you're carrying that negative energy back into new relationships, and you're doing this comparison thing in your mind between the new person you're dealing with and a memory. And it's a waste of time. And it's going to be a matter of time before the new person's going to feel like, you know what, they're not totally in it. They're going to feel that energy. They're going to feel that neglect, and they're going to move on. You'll never have a moment's peace. And I'm just saying this out of kindness because I'm running into people all the time who are so fixated on that person that they had a long time ago, and a part of them is still thinking that they can have a piece of them, and they're reaching out to keep a piece of them, and that person ain't paying them no damn attention. They could care less if that person lived or died. They're done. So y'all need to leave stuff alone. With that being said, you all have a great day.